friends, it's Sarah from She's Crafty, She Knows It, and today I'm going to show you a really quick and easy way to make tassels. So I know I've shown you how to make tassels in some of my other videos, but it's kind of part of a bigger project, like part of a bookmark tutorial or something. So I wanted to make a separate little tassel tutorial, so this is it. I think now is the time. I actually need to make a tassel for this cute little zipper pouch that I made a couple videos ago. So I thought I would go ahead and record it and show you how I'm going to make it. But first, I have a little disclaimer. I actually have the We Are Memory Keeper tassel loom. I wanted to love it so bad. The instructions to me are a little complicated, and I just don't love the way the tassels turn out. Like, they're not super professional looking at the end. They have a couple little wonky spots, and let me show you. This is actually one I made. Oh, there's a thread hanging from it. It's okay. It has a couple of little weird spots where it's like bigger on one side, and then the end is this is my least favorite part, is the way that it ends. You have to tie a knot, so it kind of hangs from a knot, and you can't really do anything about it. So there's a knot at the top of the tassel, and then there's a knot up here, and it just doesn't really give the finished professional look I want. And so I'm going to show you how I make my tassels just using my hand. So this will be a tassel that's about the same size as this one, so not a huge one. If you're making like a jumbo tassel for a birthday decoration or something, you might need something bigger than your hand. You might want to wrap your little yarn or whatever you're using around a hardcover book or a piece of wood. You could even use like the back of a chair, depending on how ginormous you want to make it. But for today, I'm going to be using this little baker's twine, and I'm going to be using my hand. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go and unroll some of it. So now these instructions are not as cut and dry as I know some of you might like, because it really does depend on the size of tassel you're making and what you're using. So this is thin baker's twine. If you're using embroidery floss, you might want to wrap it around your hand more. If you're using a chunky yarn, you might not need to. I know I'm going to do 20. Let me show you what 10 looks like. I'm going to do 20 wraps around my hand. So just start wrapping just like this. It doesn't matter if it's perfect, but just right around the center. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's about 10. So the fullness will be double this because there's some on the back, but it's still not that full. So I'm going to do 10 more. 11, 12, 14, 15. Okay, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and cut the end, and you're going to take it off your hand and lay the little loops down. So that's 20 times around my hand with the baker's twine. Now for the next little piece, we're going to be cutting the hanger thread. And so just like on this one, this is how long you're going to be cutting this little piece right here. That's the hanger thread. So you'll need to decide right now how long you want your hanger thread to be. What we're going to do is, I know that I want my hanger to be about 4 inches because it's going to be hanging off of this zipper pouch. So about 4 inches, which means I need to cut it about 10. So I usually take whatever hanger length I want, I multiply it times 2, so 4 times 2 is 8, and then I add a couple inches because we're going to be tying 2 knots with it as well. So the knots will take up space. So I'm going to go ahead, lay it out, cut it about 10 inches. Okay, so I have my little hanger thread. I'm going to go ahead and put it through the loop. So you're just putting it through the loop, so it kind of could, like the loops could hang on there. You're going to lay it all back down again, just like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and tie the ends. And you want to tie a knot as close to the little cut ends as you can. And make sure it's real tight. So close to the ends and as tight as you can get it. So if you knew that you want your hanger to be about 10 inches, then I would suggest you would cut your string to about 22. So 10 times 2 is 20. Add a couple inches for the knots. It's not going to be exact, but it's going to be really close. Okay, so I got my knot right there. I'm trying to pull it as tight as I can. Now we're going to go ahead and cut these little threads at the end real close to the knot. We're going to try to hide this knot inside the tassel, which is part of what makes it look so finished and more professional looking. Okay, so I have my little hanger thread. I have the knot. You're going to twist it and put the knot right there inside of the loop. So that way, if you kind of turn it like this, you can't see the knot at all. So that's the goal. Okay, we're going to cut one more piece. I suggest cutting this piece, depending on how huge your tassel is. I always cut mine at least a foot. If you're doing a much bigger tassel, definitely cut it 18 or 24 inches. But I usually eyeball it, trying to be more precise. This is honestly probably more about 14 inches. When I'm doing things on my own and I'm not recording it, I kind of just make it up as I go when I am more slap happy. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna lay this piece. I should have said that before I did it. This is the piece we just cut. We're gonna lay it on the table, pick up your little loops, and you're gonna set it on top of that piece. It's gonna wanna roll, but you're gonna kind of set it just like that. So now this is the part of the tassel. Let me show you a different one. This is the part of the tassel that goes around this little horizontal piece. So you need to decide right now how high you want it. Do you want it down low and have a really big chunky section at top? Do you want it higher and have a tiny little section right there? And then you also can decide how many times you want to wrap this threading around. You could just do one time and tie a knot off, or you could do it a bunch of times. Some people even do a little contrasting color, like say I wanted to do blue and white baker's twine. I'm just going to keep mine yellow matching, and I'm going to do it about, this is twisting more than it normally does on me. Let's see. I'm going to do it about, what is that? It's a little bit more than ½ an inch. And you're going to go ahead and crisscross it and just do the beginning of a knot. You don't need to do a full knot. And when you're right here, you can kind of play with it. I'm going to move it up a tiny bit and then pull it. Okay, so now you can see I kind of have, it's kind of taking the tassel shape. What we're going to do is we're going to hold it just like this, and I'm going to wrap this thread around 2 times. You can do more if you want kind of a bigger, chunky look. And then I'm going to wrap this one around 2 times the other direction, up towards the top. And then we're going to come back to the back and tie our little knot. So this is just the wrapping part of the tassel. So before you tie your knot, you just want to make sure those loops are tied as you can. So kind of yank on it, pull it tight. Then we're going to tie our little knot. And this will hold those little horizontal threads in place and tie it real tight. Now, whenever I do it this way, the bottom thread, it kind of just blends into the tassel and you don't notice it, but the top one always has like a little piece that sticks up. So I just cut the top little thread real short. If you know that your tassel is going to get a lot of wear and tear, you could definitely put a little dot of super glue back there and kind of hide it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and get all the loops straightened out. And we're going to cut through them. Some of them are twisted, so they're not all kind of lined up. So just find all the loops, cut through them. Does not have to be exact or precise because we're going to straighten it up at the end and make sure they're all the same length. So I think I got all the loops. So you kind of just brush it with your fingers, straighten them all out, and then we're just going to trim them. You might have to kind of check it a couple times. Sometimes they wiggle when you're cutting it. Okay. So now the loop is almost ready. You can leave it like this if you want to. When it's like this, I get a little bit worried that if this was yanked, that little knot that we hid inside the tassel would come out and you would see it. So I usually just go ahead and tie a knot as close to the top of the tassel as I can right there with this little hanger thread. So this is the second knot we're doing in this hanger thread. So go ahead and tie a knot. If your hanger thread is really short, like you wanted a 2-inch hanger, you might not have enough space extra to tie a knot. So that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot as close as I can to the very tip top. You really want this knot to be as close to the top as you can. And then just pull it as tight as you can. You really want it to be right at the top of the tassel, pulled real tight. Okay, so there is the front of the tassel. You can see the little tiny knot on the back. It's pretty inconspicuous. And there is the top of the tassel, and it looks so cute and chunky, and it's much more finished looking. So now let me show you how I like to attach the tassel. So instead of it being an open thread that's cut open right here, which you definitely can do that, you could have an open thread. All you would do is when you're doing the tassel part, you wouldn't tie the hanger thread in a knot and you wouldn't hide the knot. You would just leave it as an open thread through the loops. But this way, you can kind of do it like a luggage tag. So I have my little zipper pull, and I'm going to stick the little end of the loop through, if I can do it, it's a tiny, tiny little hole, through the tiny hole, pull it through, and you're gonna pull it through like how you would do a luggage tag. And just like that, it makes this really nice kind of finish. Hopefully you can see that. It makes a really nice little finish on there. And instead of having, let me show you one more time. It is not horrible by any means, but instead of having this kind of loose little knot that just hangs there, it gives this really nice finished look with the pull through, and there's really no loose thread. So there are a couple knots, but there's no loose threads that look unraveling or anything like that up at the top. It's just the tassel. So I just think it looks so clean and nice. So obviously now you can see how long it's hanging. If we'd wanted a really short one, we could have made that little thing inside much shorter, and it could be a shorter pull. This is a longer pull. Okay, friends, so that is it. That's the quick and easy way to make tassels. Hopefully you feel inspired to make your own tassels now. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for more videos. Bye!
She's crafty and she knows it. She's crafty and she knows it. She's crafty and she knows. She's crafty and she knows it.